There comes a moment in life when heaven becomes quiet. Not because God has stopped speaking, but because He is about to show you something instead. Some relationships come as lessons, some come as tests. But when your soulmate enters your life, it is not an accident, it is an alignment. God never sends the right person at the wrong time, and He never sends the wrong person with His peace. If you have been praying, if you have been waiting, if you have been wondering, God, is this the one? Then listen carefully, because God always leaves signs before He releases a promise. When the right person enters your life by God's design, the very first thing you feel is not excitement, not obsession, not anxiety. It is peace, a deep, quiet, unexplainable calm that settles in your heart. Peace does not shout. Peace does not rush. Peace does not demand proof every day. It simply exists. In daily life, think about how you feel when you finally sit down after a long, exhausting day and everything is done. No pending calls, no unfinished tasks, no urgent messages. That calm you feel is not laziness, it is completion. In the same way, a God-ordained connection feels complete, not because everything is perfect, but because nothing inside you is fighting against it. Confusion, on the other hand, is loud. Confusion keeps you awake at night, replaying conversations. Confusion makes you read messages 10 times to decode tone. Confusion makes you question your worth, your intuition, and sometimes even your faith. If someone constantly makes you feel unsure about where you stand, unsure about their intentions, unsure about tomorrow, that is not mystery, that is misalignment. God does not guide His children through anxiety. He guides them through clarity. Just like a traffic signal that turns green gives you permission to move forward without fear, peace is God's green signal in relationships. In everyday life, notice how peace works when you make the right decision. When you choose the right job, even if it pays less, your heart feels light. When you tell the truth instead of a lie, even if it costs you something, you sleep better. When you walk away from a toxic situation, even if it hurts, your breathing becomes easier. That same principle applies to love. A soulmate sent by God does not make your chest feel tight. They do not make you feel like you are constantly walking on glass. Instead, they make emotional safety feel normal, not special. Peace also shows up in how little you need to explain yourself. In daily conversations, have you noticed how draining it is to talk to someone who always misunderstands you? You clarify once, twice, 10 times, and still feel unseen. Now compare that to a person who understands your silence, your mood, your pauses. With the right person, communication is not a battlefield. You don't rehearse your words like a courtroom argument. You speak and you are heard. That ease is not accidental. That is emotional alignment designed by God. Another sign of peace is that your intuition rests. You are not constantly checking their phone activity, their online status, or their behavior for hidden meanings. Think about how you trust a stable chair. You don't test it every time before sitting. You simply sit because it has proven itself reliable. A God-sent person gives you that same inner assurance. You don't feel the need to monitor, control, or chase. Peace removes the urge to obsess. Peace also reflects in your daily routine. You remain focused at work. You enjoy your meals. You laugh freely. Your productivity improves instead of declining. When someone brings confusion, even simple tasks feel heavy. You lose appetite, concentration, and motivation. God never sends love that steals your ability to function. He sends love that strengthens your capacity to live fully. If a relationship consumes your mental energy more than it contributes to your growth, it is not divine. In family and social settings, peace becomes even clearer. When the right person is present, you don't feel embarrassed introducing them to others. You don't feel the need to defend their behavior. You don't constantly make excuses for their disrespect. Peace allows you to stand confidently, knowing this connection aligns with your values, just like wearing clothes that fit you well makes you walk differently. A peaceful relationship changes how you carry yourself in public and private. Peace also teaches patience. There is no rush to label, possess, or pressure. In daily life, rushed decisions often lead to regret. Rushed shopping, rushed replies, rushed promises. God's timing removes haste. When peace is present, you are okay letting things unfold naturally. You trust that what is meant for you cannot miss you. That trust is powerful. It frees you from fear-driven attachment and desperation. Even during disagreements, peace does not disappear. Arguments don't feel like wars. Silence doesn't feel like punishment. Space doesn't feel like abandonment. Think of a healthy home where disagreements happen but love remains intact. Voices may rise but respect stays. Doors may close but hearts remain open. That emotional stability is a sign that God is involved. Peace also protects your self-respect. You don't tolerate disrespect just to keep someone. You don't abandon your standards for temporary comfort. In everyday life, people compromise their health for taste, their sleep for entertainment, their dignity for attention. Peaceful love does not require self-betrayal. It strengthens your boundaries instead of breaking them. Most importantly, peace makes you feel safe to be real. You don't hide your struggles. You don't exaggerate your strengths. You don't fear judgment for your past. Just like a child feels safe falling asleep in a parent's presence, your soul relaxes when the right person is near. That safety is rare, and when it arrives, it is sacred. Peace is not boring, it is powerful. It is the quiet confidence that tells you you are exactly where you are supposed to be. It is the inner stillness that remains even when life outside is noisy. When God sends your soulmate, He does not announce it with fireworks. He announces it with peace so deep that confusion has no place to stand. When a relationship is touched by God, the first thing it strengthens is not your emotions, not your desires, not even your plans. It strengthens your prayer life. You don't pray less, you pray deeper. You don't rush your conversations with God, you linger. Your spirit feels drawn upward instead of pulled sideways. Just like a healthy body naturally craves nutritious food, a God-aligned connection makes your soul hunger for God's presence, not distract you from it. In daily life, notice what happens when something truly good enters your world. When you get a promotio. You worked hard for, you feel grateful. When a family member recovers from illness, your heart automatically whispers thanks. Gratitude pushes you toward God. The same thing happens when the right person enters your life. Instead of making you forget God, they make you remember Him more often. You find yourself saying silent prayers of thanks. Not because everything is perfect, but because something feels right. When the wrong person is present, prayer feels heavy. You delay it. You shorten it. You avoid it. You scroll instead of kneel. You distract yourself instead of being still. But when the right person comes, prayer stops feeling like an obligation and starts feeling like oxygen. Even when you don't pray together, your individual prayer life becomes stronger. You become more honest with God, more vulnerable, more real. Think about daily routines. When you wake up late, everything feels rushed. You skip breakfast, forget essentials, and move through the day stressed. But when you wake up early, centered, and prepared, the day flows better. A God-sent relationship does the same thing to your spiritual rhythm. It aligns you instead of scattering you. Your mornings become calmer. Your nights become reflective. Your spirit feels organized instead of chaotic. A relationship blessed by God does not tempt you to compromise your values. It does not make you hide your actions from God. It does not make you say, "I'll pray later." Instead, it makes you say, "God, help me love rightly." You become more aware of your words, your choices, and your intentions. You stop praying only when you are desperate and start praying because you are connected. In everyday life, think about people who encourage good habits. A gym partner makes you show up consistently. A study group keeps you disciplined. A supportive friend pushes you to grow. A God-ordained connection works the same way spiritually. Even without preaching, their presence inspires alignment. You don't feel judged, you feel guided. You don't feel pressured, you feel protected. Your prayers also change in content. You stop praying for validation and start praying for wisdom. You stop asking God to fix them and start asking God to shape you. You stop praying from fear and start praying from faith. When a relationship weakens your prayer life, it usually feeds your ego. When it strengthens your prayer life, it humbles your heart. Daily struggles don't disappear, but your response changes. When stress hits, you pray instead of panic. When misunderstandings arise, you seek God instead of reacting emotionally. When temptation appears, you remember your values instead of ignoring them. This is how you know God is involved. Your reflex becomes prayer, not impulse. Notice how this plays out in small moments. Before sending a message, you pause. Before reacting in anger, you breathe. Before making a decision, you seek clarity. These pauses are not hesitation, they are spiritual maturity. They are evidence that your connection with God is becoming more active, not weaker. A God-aligned relationship also removes spiritual guilt. You don't feel like you have to choose between love and faith. You don't feel torn between desire and devotion. Instead, both exist in harmony. Just like balance in daily life prevents burnout, spiritual balance prevents inner conflict. You no longer feel like you are living a double life. Your prayer life also becomes more hopeful. You start praying about the future with confidence instead of fear. You pray for purpose, legacy, growth, and impact. You stop begging God not to lose someone and start trusting God to lead you rightly. That shift is powerful. It means your faith is no longer dependent on a person. When love is not from God, prayer becomes a struggle, because your spirit knows something is off. But when love is from God, prayer becomes easier, because your spirit is in agreement. You don't feel distant from God, you feel closer. You don't hide, you open up. You don't perform, you surrender. Just like light naturally reveals what is hidden, a God-sent relationship exposes areas where you need healing, forgiveness, and growth. And instead of resisting that process, you pray through it. You ask God to refine you, not rescue you from responsibility. That is spiritual maturity, birthed through alignment. When your prayer life grows stronger, it is a sign that love is not replacing God in your life. It is reminding you of Him. It is not becoming your source. It is pointing you back to the source. God rarely speaks once when something carries destiny. When a connection is truly from Him, He does not leave you guessing, and He does not expect you to build your future on uncertainty. He confirms what matters. Just like important news in daily life comes through multiple channels, a phone call, a message, an email, and a follow-up, God also repeats what is divine. Not because He doubts Himself, but because He wants you to walk with confidence, not confusion. Think about how we trust things in everyday life. You don't believe a weather forecast because you saw it once. You believe it when multiple sources say the same thing. You don't accept a job offer just from a verbal promise. You wait for the official letter, the contract, the confirmation email. God understands the human heart. That is why when He is behind a relationship, He confirms it in ways that touch your mind, your spirit, and your circumstances. One of the most common confirmations comes through inner conviction. This is not emotional excitement. Excitement is loud and impatient. Conviction is calm and steady. In daily life, you've experienced this differ. When choosing between two paths, one option looks attractive but leaves you uneasy. The other feels simple but secure. Even without logical explanations, you know which one is right. That knowing is not accidental. It is God's quiet voice aligning your spirit with His will. God also confirms through His word. You may open Scripture and feel as if the words are speaking directly to your situation. Not once, but repeatedly. The same themes appear again and again. Guidance, patience, peace, timing. Just like a song that keeps playing everywhere you go until it finally gets your attention, God uses repetition to highlight truth. When a relationship is from Him, the Word will support it, not contradict it. In everyday life, wise people don't make decisions alone. They seek counsel. God uses people the same way. He places confirmations in the mouths of those who care about you and walk in wisdom. A mentor, a parent, a spiritual leader, or even a friend may speak words that echo what you have already been sensing. They may not know your prayers, but their words align with them. This is not coincidence. This is confirmation layered with care. God also confirms through circumstances. Doors open smoothly, resistance fades, things align without manipulation. In daily life, you can feel the difference between forcing something and flowing with it. When you force a door, it creaks, resists, and damages the frame. When God opens a door, it moves with ease. That ease does not mean absence of challenges, it means absence of unnecessary struggle. Another powerful form of confirmation is peace in waiting. When something is not from God, waiting feels unbearable. You become anxious, restless, impatient. But when something is from God, waiting feels purposeful. You are not panicking about losing it. You trust that timing is part of the blessing. In daily life, think of cooking. Home dishes need time. Rushing them ruins the taste. God confirms destiny by giving you the grace to wait without fear. God also confirms by removing doubt, not by eliminating questions, but by anchoring your heart. You may not know every detail of the future, but you know this step is right. In everyday decisions, you don't need to see the entire road to take the next turn. You just need clarity for the moment. God does not reveal everything at once. He confirms enough to move forward in faith. Sometimes confirmation comes through repeated alignment. You notice patterns instead of contradictions. Words match actions. Promises match behavior. Time strengthens trust instead of eroding it. In daily life, trust is built through consistency. You trust a bus schedule because it arrives on time repeatedly. You trust a person because they show up consistently. God confirms relationships by allowing consistency to reveal character. Even challenges become confirmations. Instead of breaking the connection, they refine it. Disagreements don't destroy respect. Distance doesn't weaken commitment. Pressure doesn't expose deception. In everyday life, real quality is tested under pressure. Gold is refined by fire. God uses testing not to confuse you, but to confirm what is real. God also confirms through alignment with your purpose. The connection does not pull you away from who you are becoming. It supports growth instead of shrinking your vision. In daily life, anything that belongs in your life fits without cutting off circulation. Shoes that are right don't hurt after a few steps. A relationship that is right does not suffocate your calling. Repeated confirmation builds confidence, not dependency. You don't cling out of fear. You choose out of faith. God's confirmations are not emotional highs, they are spiritual anchors. They keep you steady when emotions fluctuate. They rem in you that you are not imagining things, not forcing things, not settling for less. When God confirms something through multiple ways, it is His way of saying, you are not alone in this decision. You are not walking blindly. You are not trusting feelings alone. You are walking with me. When a relationship is truly aligned with God's purpose, the most powerful freedom you experience is this. You no longer have to pretend. You don't rehearse your personality. You don't edit your emotions. You don't hide parts of yourself out of fear that honesty will cost you love. Pretending is exhausting, and God never designs love to drain you. He designs it to restore you. The right person does not fall in love with a performance. They connect with your reality. In daily life, everyone knows what it feels like to pretend. At work, you may smile through pressure. In social gatherings, you may laugh even when tired. Pretending has its place for survival, but it was never meant to be permanent. When you carry that same pretending into a relationship, your soul grows weary. You constantly think, am I enough like this? But when God brings the right person, that question slowly disappears. You stop trying to impress and start being present. Think about the difference between wearing a costume and wearing comfortable clothes. A costume looks good for a moment, but it becomes unbearable if you have to live in it. Comfortable clothes may not impress strangers, but they let you breathe. A God-aligned relationship feels like comfort, not costume. You show up as you are, Quiet days, strong days, uncertain days, and you are still received with respect. Pretending often comes from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of being misunderstood. In everyday life, people pretend confidence while feeling insecure, pretend strength while feeling broken, pretend happiness while carrying grief. But God does not send someone who benefits from your mask. He sends someone who can handle your truth. When truth is safe, pretending loses its power. You notice this in conversations. You don't filter every word. You don't calculate every reaction. You don't walk away replaying what you said in your mind. You speak freely and your words land softly. That freedom is rare. In daily life, even friendships fade when honesty feels risky. A soulmate does not punish honesty, they respect it. Another sign is how you handle vulnerability. In the wrong relationship, vulnerability feels dangerous. You open up once, and it's used against you later. You share a weakness, and it becomes ammunition. But with the right person, vulnerability becomes strength. You can say, "I'm struggling," without fear of judgment. Just like a safe home allows you to rest without locking every door inside, a God-sent connection allows emotional rest. You also stop shrinking to keep someone comfortable. In daily life, many people dim their light to avoid conflict. They silence opinions, hide ambitions, downplay intelligence. But a relationship from God does not require you to be smaller. It allows you to grow. You celebrate each other's progress instead of competing with it. You don't apologize for your dreams. You don't explain your worth. Pretending also shows up in how you manage your past. In unhealthy connections, you feel pressured to erase your history, to appear flawless, to hide mistakes. But the right person understands that growth includes chapters you didn't choose. In daily life, we don't judge a book by one page. God-sent love reads the whole story. You don't feel shame for who you were. You feel strength in who you've become. Another daily life example appears in silence. In the wrong relationship, silence is awkward. You feel the need to fill every gap with words. You fear being boring. With the right person, silence is peaceful. You can sit together without performing. Just like close family members can share space without constant conversation. A God-aligned connection allows quiet without discomfort. Pretending often creates emotional loneliness even when you're not alone. You may be in a relationship and still feel unseen. But when you don't have to pretend, you feel known. And being known is more powerful than being admired. In daily life, admiration fades, but understanding lasts. God values understanding because it reflects truth. You also notice how you respond to mistakes. In a relationship that requires pretending, mistakes feel dangerous. You fear judgment. You fear losing favor. But in a God-sent relationship, mistakes become moments of growth. Correction comes with compassion. Accountability comes without humiliation. Just like a good teacher corrects to build, not to break, divine love teaches without destroying dignity. Pretending drains your energy, but authenticity restores it. You don't leave interactions feeling empty. You don't feel like you gave more than you received. In daily life, environments that require constant performance lead to burnout. God never sends love that burns you out. He sends love that allows you to exhale. The freedom to be yourself also deepens self-respect. You stop accepting behavior that dishonors you. You stop lowering standards for temporary affection. In daily life, when people know their value, they don't bargain with it. A God-aligned relationship strengthens your sense of worth instead of replacing it. When you don't have to pretend, healing accelerates. Old wounds surface safely. Insecurities lose control. You don't fear being exposed because you are already accepted. Just like light heals what darkness hides, acceptance heals what pretending protects. God never sends someone who falls in love with your mask, because masks eventually fall. He sends someone who recognizes your spirit, respects your journey, and chooses your truth over illusion. When a connection is aligned with God, one of the clearest signs is this: your future begins to make sense instead of feeling foggy. You don't feel lost about where life is heading. You don't feel pulled in opposite directions. Instead of confusion, you feel orientation. It's like walking out of a dark room into morning light. Not everything is visible yet, but you know which way to move. God never introduces someone into your life who blurs your destiny. He introduces people who help you see it more clearly. In daily life, confusion feels heavy. When your future is unclear, even small decisions feel exhausting. You question every move. You hesitate constantly, but clarity brings energy. Think about how productive you become when you have a clear plan for the day. You move faster, waste less time, and feel more confident. A God-ordained relationship works the same way. It sharpens your focus instead of scattering it. When the wrong person is present, your future becomes crowded with doubt. You wonder if your dreams are too big, your standards too high, your calling too demanding. You start negotiating with yourself, shrinking plans to keep someone comfortable. But when the right person enters, you stop asking, should I give this up? And start asking, how can I grow into this? That shift is powerful. It means your future is no longer being compromised for the sake of attachment. Clarity also shows up in conversations about tomorrow. In daily life, notice how uncomfortable vague answers feel. When someone avoids commitment, dodges plans, or changes direction constantly, it creates anxiety. But when clarity exists, conversations about the future feel natural, not forced. You don't need dramatic promises. You see direction through consistency. Actions align with words. Time strengthens vision instead of weakening it. Another sign of clarity is alignment of values. You don't argue about core beliefs. You don't feel pulled between who you are and who you're becoming. In daily life, wearing mismatched shoes makes walking painful. Even if both shoes are good, they must match. God brings people who fit your direction, not just your moment. The future becomes clearer because the foundation is solid. Your goals also feel supported instead of threatened. In unhealthy relationships, success feels dangerous. Growth feels like a risk. You worry that becoming more will cost you love. But in God-aligned connections, progress is celebrated. Your ambitions are not seen as competition or inconvenience. In daily life, a strong team celebrates each member's win because everyone benefits. Divine love works the same way. Clarity also affects your emotional decisions. You stop making choices out of fear. You stop asking, what if I lose them? And start asking, what builds my life? Fear clouds judgment. Faith clears it. In daily life, people who drive in fog slow down because vision is limited. God clears the fog so you can move forward confidently. Another daily example appears in finances, time, and priorities. You begin to manage resources wisely. You don't waste energy on chaos. You invest in what matters. In unhealthy connections, people lose discipline. They overspend emotionally, mentally, spiritually. But when clarity enters, discipline returns. You plan, you prepare, you build. Your sense of purpose also strengthens. You don't feel like life is on pause. You don't feel like you're waiting for permission to begin. You feel like you are already moving. In daily life, waiting rooms are uncomfortable because progress feels stalled. A God-sent relationship does not trap you in waiting mode. It moves you into preparation mode. Even challenges become clearer. You don't feel confused about whether obstacles are signs to quit or opportunities to grow. You face them together with understanding. In daily life, training is difficult, but athletes endure it because they see the goal. Vision makes struggle meaningful. God brings people who help you see the purpose behind the process. Clarity also protects your peace. You don't feel torn between staying and leaving. You don't feel emotionally pulled apart. Decisions become easier because they align with your values. In daily life, clarity simplifies choices. You don't stand in front of endless options wondering what to do. You know what matters. Your future becomes clearer because your identity is no longer compromised. You know who you are, what you want, and where you are going. You don't lose yourself in love. You find direction through it. God never sends love that replaces your vision. He sends love that walks with it. When God is involved, the future doesn't feel intimidating. It feels poes. Sibo. You don't fear growth, you welcome it. You don't fear commitment. You understand it. Clarity is not about knowing everything. It's about knowing enough to move forward with confidence, faith, and purpose. Attraction is powerful, but it is temporary. It captures the eyes, excites the emotions, and awakens desire, yet it does not have the strength to carry a destiny. Purpose alignment, on the other hand, sustains life when attraction fades into routine. God never builds futures on feelings alone. He builds them on alignment. When two people are aligned in purpose, attraction becomes a bonus, not the foundation. In daily life, attraction is like a beautiful storefront. It draws you in, but it does not tell you what happens behind the door. Purpose is the structure of the building. You can admire the outside of a house, but if the foundation is weak, it will not survive storms. Many people choose relationships based on how someone makes them feel in the moment, only to discover later that their lives are moving in opposite directions. Purpose alignment prevents that collision. Attraction fades when pressure arrives. Purpose strengthens under pressure. Think about daily routines. You may love the excitement of starting a new job, but when deadlines, responsibilities, and challenges appear, excitement alone cannot keep you going. You stay because the work aligns with your goals. Relationships work the same way. When life becomes demanding, attraction alone cannot carry commitment. Purpose alignment shows in how two people view growth. When purpose is aligned, both people are moving forward, even if the pace differs. In daily life, two people rowing in the same direction make progress, even if one is stronger. Two people rowing in opposite directions exhaust themselves without moving. God does not connect destinies that cancel each other out. He aligns paths so progress is possible. Another daily life example is time management. Attraction demands attention constantly. Purpose respects time. In unhealthy connections, people lose focus, skip responsibilities, and abandon discipline to maintain emotional closeness. In purpose-aligned relationships, time is protected. Growth is respected. Dreams are honored. Love does not compete with calling, it supports it. Attraction is often based on what you see. Purpose alignment is based on what you are becoming. In daily life, choosing a workout routine based only on comfort leads nowhere. Choosing one based on goals leads to transformation. Purpose alignment chooses what builds the future, not just what feels good today. Purpose alignment also reveals itself in values. You don't argue about what matters most. You may differ in opinions, but your direction is shared. In daily life, values guide decisions when emotions fluctuate. When values clash, confusion follows. God aligns values because they are the compass of life. Attraction can blind you to red flags. Purpose sharpens discernment. In daily life, excitement makes people overlook warning signs. Purpose slows you down enough to ask the right questions. It helps you choose wisely instead of emotionally. God values wisdom over impulse. Purpose alignment also protects identity. In attraction-driven relationships, people change themselves to maintain interest. In purpose-aligned relationships, people grow into themselves. In daily life, environments that encourage growth make people stronger. Environments that demand performance create insecurity. Attraction focuses on the present. Purpose focuses on legacy. In daily life, people who plan only for today struggle tomorrow. People who plan for the future build stability. God connects people who can build together, not just enjoy moments together. Purpose alignment also determines how conflict is handled. Attraction reacts emotionally. Purpose responds intentionally. In daily life, teams with shared goals resolve conflict faster because they care about outcomes more than ego. Purpose-aligned love seeks resolution, not victory. When attraction fades, purpose remains. When emotions fluctuate, purpose stabilizes. When appearances change, purpose endures. In daily life, habits outlast motivation. Purpose alignment is the habit of choosing growth, even when feelings are quiet. God does not deny attraction. He places it in the right order. Attraction draws attention. Purpose determines direction. Without purpose, attraction becomes a distraction. With purpose, attraction becomes meaningful. Purpose alignment matters because life is long. There will be seasons of silence, struggle, and sacrifice. Attraction cannot sustain those seasons. Purpose can. God aligns people not just for moments but for journeys. When purpose is aligned, love matures. It becomes intentional. It becomes resilient. It becomes productive. Attraction may start the story, but purpose writes the future. When love arrives in God's timing, fear loses its authority. Fear survives in hurry, pressure, and uncertainty, but it cannot live where timing is divine. God never rushes what He intends to protect. Love that comes too early feels heavy because you are not ready to carry it. Love that comes too late feels desperate because you are afraid to lose it. But love that comes in God's timing feels safe, steady, and secure, because it meets you at the moment you are prepared to receive it. In daily life, timing changes everything. A message sent at the wrong time can cause misunderstanding. Advice given too early can feel like control. Even good opportunities can become burdens when they arrive before readiness. The same applies to love. When love comes before healing, fear controls attack. When love comes before maturity, fear controls decisions. But when love comes at the right time, fear steps aside because preparation has already taken place. Fear in love often sounds like urgency. You feel rushed to commit, rushed to decide, rushed to prove, rushed to secure. In everyday life, rush choices usually come from anxiety, not confidence. People rush through traffic when they are late. They rush conversations when they are afraid of silence. God's timing removes this rush. You no longer feel like you must grab love before it escapes. You trust that what is meant for you cannot be stolen by delay. God's timing also removes the fear of abandonment. When love comes from God, you don't cling. You don't overthink. You don't panic when things slow down. In daily life, when something is stable, you don't constantly check on it. You trust your home will still be there when you return. You trust the sun will rise again. That same trust enters love when God is in control of timing. Another way fear disappears is through patience. God's timing teaches you to wait without anxiety. In daily life, waiting in chaos is stressful, but waiting with assurance is peaceful. When you trust timing, waiting becomes part of the blessing, not the punishment. You stop asking, what if this ends? And start believing what is built by God will last. Fear also shows up as comparison. You look at others and feel behind. You measure your life against someone else's timeline. God's timing removes this pressure. In daily life, comparing journeys creates frustration because no two paths are the same. God aligns love with individual growth, not social expectations. When timing is divine, you stop chasing milestones and start honoring seasons. God's timing removes fear because it aligns love with readiness. You are emotionally stronger. You know your boundaries. You understand your worth. In daily life, readiness changes how you experience responsibility. Driving a car as a beginner is frightening. Driving with experience feels natural. Love in God's timing feels natural because you have learned what you need to know. Fear also loses power because God's timing confirms intention. Love does not feel temporary. You don't fear sudden withdrawal or inconsistency. In daily life, consistency builds trust. You trust your paycheck because it comes regularly. You trust relationships that show up consistently. God's timing brings consistency that quiets fear. Another daily life example is healing. Love that arrives before healing often triggers old wounds. Love that arrives after healing nurtures growth. God uses time to prepare hearts. When healing is complete, fear has no place to hide. You don't project past pain onto present love. God's timing also removes fear of loss. You don't love from a place of scarcity. You don't think this is your only chance. In daily life, scarcity creates fear, but abundance creates confidence. God's timing teaches you abundance of trust. You know that love is not rare when God is the source. Fear disappears because faith increases. You don't rely on constant reassurance. You rely on alignment. In daily life, people who trust systems don't need constant updates. They know processes work. God's process builds faith that replaces fear. God's timing removes fear because it removes confusion. Confusion breeds anxiety. Clarity breeds confidence. In daily life, clear instructions reduce stress. Love in God's timing feels clear. You know where you stand. You know what you are building. When love is rushed, fear controls it. When love is delayed by God, faith prepares it. When love arrives at the right time, fear steps back because it knows it has no place to rule. So now, hear me clearly, because this is the truth that will change the way you see love, destiny, and life itself. God's timing, His confirmation, His alignment, they are not just words to inspire you for a moment. They are the principles that will shape your reality. Life will try to convince you to rush, to settle, to compromise, to cling to what is convenient instead of what is divine. But remember this, the universe does not reward haste. It honors patience. The people, the love, the opportunities that are meant for you will arrive at the perfect time, and when they do, every fear, every doubt, every moment of uncertainty you once carried will collapse under the weight of clarity. I want you to imagine something. What if all the heartbreaks you've endured, all the times you've cried alone, all the moments you felt unseen, were not punishments but preparations? Every tear was a lesson, every disappointment a refining fire. Like gold, your heart has been purified in the flames of trial, so that when your God-sent soulmate steps into your life, you will recognize them immediately. You won't have to guess. You won't have to question. Your soul will know. Your spirit will resonate. And suddenly, what once seemed impossible will feel inevitable. Think about the great souls who walked before us. People who understood that patience and faith are not weaknesses, but weapons. They did not chase destiny, they prepared for it. They did not settle for comfort, they trusted God for alignment. And because of that trust, their lives became stories worth telling, legacies worth leaving, and love worth holding. You too are on that path. You too are being aligned, being prepared, being guided to something so profound that when it arrives, it will not just meet your heart, it will awaken it. Let me tell you something powerful. Love that is rushed will fade, but love that is orchestrated by God will endure. Attraction is fleeting, purpose is permanent, peace is priceless, and faith will carry you across every storm, every doubt, every moment you question if God is listening. Faith will remind you that His timing is perfect, His wisdom is infinite, and His plans are unstoppable. So, do not settle for less. Do not rush into what feels good but cannot last. Do not compromise your future for temporary pleasure. Stand firm in prayer, in discernment, in patience, and in expectation. Because what God has for you is not just love, it is alignment, it is purpose, it is destiny wrapped in human form, ready to walk beside you in the fullness of time. And hear this, my friends, the world will try to distract you with shortcuts, with fear, with stories of what love should look like. But the truth is, love that comes from God is never complicated, never forced, never fearful. It flows naturally, it builds exponentially, it nourishes endlessly, and it transforms completely. You will feel it in the calm of your spirit, the clarity of your mind, the quiet confidence in your heart. You will know that you are exactly where you are meant to be, with exactly who you are meant to be with, doing exactly what you are meant to do. So I challenge you today, walk in faith, not in fear. Wait with patience, not with anxiety. Trust in His timing, not in your rush. Believe in divine alignment, not in temporary attraction. Guard your heart, prepare your soul, and strengthen your purpose, because the love, the soulmate, the life God is preparing for you is bigger than your imagination, stronger than your doubts, and more faithful than your fears. And when that moment comes, when destiny finally arrives at your doorstep, you will stand with your head held high, your heart at peace, and your soul fully awakened, knowing that every struggle, every delay, every lonely night was worth it. Because God's timing is perfect, His confirmation is undeniable, and His love is eternal. You are ready, you are prepared, and the best is yet to come. This is not just a promise, it is a decree for your life. The love that is coming is divine. Your soulmate is coming. Your purpose is coming, and your destiny is unfolding. Step into it with faith, embrace it with courage, and live it with joy, because the moment God moves, everything changes forever.